We still have another minute now, but we're allowed to start.
Number 2.
Yes, yeah, we just hit it at 5:59, you're right. There you go.
What's happening?
Not too much.
Do you want one of Mike's carb load nuggets?
Okay. They have lots of eggs in them.
They have protein in them.
What is it?
There's a protein.
It's called strugula. It's a Sicilian dessert, old family recipe. It's a very old family recipe.
Okay. Pretty good.
So what is it? It's eggs, so 12 eggs,
Yeah.
so a dozen eggs. What else?
Soup bowl of sugar. That's how you measure the portions. There's some cinnamon and there's some baking powder and then enough flour for the eggs.
You sound like my mother making gourmet.
That's,
Yeah.
it's not a recipe you can give someone.
How much
It's a
hamburger-
recipe you have
Enough.
to teach someone
Enough.
how to
How much
make
hamburger
like
supposed to use?
a few
Depends on
years
how many
in
monkeys you
a
wanna
few
make.
years in a row. You have to work with them to teach them how to make them. And my grandmother and my father taught me.
And now you taught your children, so
My
they
kids
know.
all know, yes.
That is very special.
Yeah. All right. Oh, it is 6 o'clock. It is 6 o'clock in Wilbraham on December 18th. And I'd like to call the Hamden-Wilbraham Regional School District Policy Subcommittee to order. I guess, do we take attendance?
No.
No.
Just call the meeting to order. We have a quorum already
All right.
established. So
We have a quorum already, so let's stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. All right, so on the agenda, first, old business. So from what I understand from the last meeting, and correct me if I get it wrong because I wasn't here, AC was sent to legal for opinion and review. And you should have in front of you their edits.
Just to add on to that, the main issue was that retaliation is used in both policies but not defined, and so there was a desire to have in writing what is meant by retaliation, and so we sent that part to Katie. We decided that we would put that in ACR because there's a list of definitions there, and it did not include a list of a definition for retaliation. And so the text you see in blue is the new language that Katie added, Attorney Meinhof added for the committee's consideration.
So the only thing that I would add, the edit that I would do is I would put the definition of retaliation includes, rather than just saying retaliation. It would just be cleaner that way.
I guess I'm okay with that being added. What do you think, Sheriff?
I don't know, like,
Was this paragraph written by the lawyer?
It was.
Well, then I'm kind of plus minus on changing it.
I don't have,
Not being a lawyer myself.
I don't have anything in blue and I have green paper.
Whoa, okay.
Oh, wait a minute.
So
Hold on, hold
I'm
on.
completely confused.
Written in blue, written in blue.
Here it is, Cheryl.
She'll show.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
I don't know, I guess if it was written by the attorney, my deference would be to not change it. Because then I'd feel like we need him to look at it again, and that might be a needless expense. But, I don't know, what do you think, Cheryl?
I think we trust our attorneys.
Well, I don't know about that, but-
Is it Jonathan who's writing this?
This was Katie Meinhof.
Oh, I don't know. Better. Maybe I don't trust her.
So the term, if you just put the term retaliation include, to me, it reads better. We asked her to give us a definition of retaliation, sort of in space, not as part of, I would imagine not as part of this policy. As I read it, because you go from allegations of Title IX sexual harassment shall be reported and investigated pursuant to Title IX, and then this is retaliation includes retaliatory. To me, I would say the term retaliation includes, I think it just reads, it flows. But, I mean, I'm not gonna get hung up on it, if you guys don't like it, screw it.
And my preference would be to leave what the attorney wrote. So I guess it leaves it up to you, Cheryl.
Like I said, I'd leave it up to what the attorney does.
All right, we'll leave that one alone. We'll change the next one Bill wants to change. All right, and you guys look, so are we okay at this point to vote on AC and ACR?
I'd like to add one other thing in AC. When in non-discrimination, we talk about all of the, does not exclude, discrimination against individuals on the basis of race, color, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, religion, disability, age, genetic information, active military veteran status, marital status, familial status, pregnancy or pregnancy-related conditions, homelessness, ancestry, ethnic background, national origin. I'd like to put political affiliation in there as well. We don't have anything in there. And during our strategic plan, that was actually something that was pretty roundly talked about in strategic planning, was keeping politics out of schools.
So after national origin would add political
affiliation.
Political affiliation.
Yeah.
And then another comma. And then it would be,
Or
any other category. I'm totally fine with that.
What was the discussion like at the meeting where you discussed putting in political affiliation? Because I'm not sure why it's necessary.
Why would it not be? Would you not want to protect somebody if there was?
Well, I'm
Were there
asking you what
concerns?
was the nature of the conversation you.
It primarily centered around students who felt like they were being harassed because of being conservative.
Okay,
Felt like, you know, they were being treated differently by staff members. And I think that it's something in this day and age that is extremely important. I think that political affiliation is something that people do use as a means of discrimination. And if we are going to set forth a policy that is going to promote the idea of non-discrimination, then I think we should probably look at one of the biggest areas of potential discrimination, and let's make sure that we enumerate that.
I think you're right, but I would add the caveat that, or no affiliation. You know, if you say, you're gonna put in so that they document what the political affiliation is of the student, right? Is that what you're saying?
Well, it's not just of the student, it's of anybody.
Of anybody.
So the districts,
Or no political affiliation. I mean, that's just as important. I mean,
Okay.
you get certain information knowing the
Political
political affiliation.
So how would you phrase that?
Of course, part of me wants to just delete the whole thing and have the top sentence say, you know, otherwise discriminate against individuals for any reason.
That's good too.
But I
That's
don't think
simpler.
we can do that, but I think
Yeah.
that we're supposed to have the stuff listed in the policy, right, Jeff? But
I can live without adding it, I just think it gives a broader meaning to the purpose of putting it in. It covers both ends.
Political affiliation or lack thereof.
Yeah,
Political affiliation / lack of affiliation? I don't mind that. I think that it's important that we put it in there.
well, non-politically affiliated is a political affiliation.
All right.
We could just put the word political, because there's religion, disability, age, national origin, political, comma, or any other category protected by state or federal law.
Yeah, political's a little bit, it's kind of just, it's a political, what?
Well, it's actually.
Political ideology, political affiliation, I think.
All of the above is why I think the word just putting the word political there might be better, because we're saying political affiliation.
How about political beliefs?
Well, that starts to get mixed in with
I wouldn't say.
beliefs.
No.
Not that I disagree with it, but it does,
Now that
it
you're
does
putting it-
muddy the water a little bit.
Well, how so?
Oh, well, I mean, personally, I make my political decisions based on facts and not on belief. But other people may do it differently, and I do also respect that.
But a belief can also be, I mean, would you call your political decision a belief? Because you're basing it in fact?
No. I would call it an evidence-based decision.
Okay. So, but when you say political and you leave that alone, now you are basically saying,
I'm okay leaving it as political affiliation, that's fine. I just thought political might broaden it a little bit more. Leaving out affiliation broadens it even a little bit. I mean, from my perspective, the intent here is you can't discriminate against anyone for any reason, period. But in the world of policies and laws and stuff like that, you can't actually write that, which is why we have books of laws that are thousands of pages long.
so if we had political affiliation / lack of affiliation.
As it political affiliation or lack thereof, comma, or any other category defined, I think that would be fine.
I like it.
All right.
Sounds good.
All right, can I have, let's,
Motion to approve, AC, we have to vote on that, I think, right?
yeah, we do need to vote for it to go forward to the committee, so, yeah. Could someone make a
Make a
motion?
motion to approve AC, non-discrimination,
And ACR?
and ACR.
We discussed that one first, and then we went,
Yes, and ACR, correct.
second?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
All right, cool, okay. So, now we're
Section
going to,
B.
we're going to the Bs. All right, so,
Just as a point of order, John, can you just, I read your notes here, several of these, I think it's BBB, BBA, BBC, BBE. Those are all ones that I think we want to table for now because all of those have language that will reflect in the regional agreement. And we're going to be making modifications to those.
we-
Or do you want
we
us
got,
to,
we got legal opinion on that, and
do you want us to do it first and the regional agreement will
so what,
mirror
so
what's
let
in
me,
policy?
let me fill you in. So John sent me a question specifically on BBE, we're skipping ahead, okay, in regards to the fact that the recommended language for the policy, in terms of replacing an empty member of a vacancy on the committee, was counter to what's in our current regional agreement. And John thought we should have our attorney look at it. I checked with Michelle, I said, do you think it's okay we have him look at that question? She said yes. And so we just asked him that question, and he recommended that we modify the policy to match our current regional agreement with the plans that if it is changed in the regional agreement, when we go forward
Okay.
later, that we then modify the policy at that point. Because the modification to the regional agreement is a long time away.
The other problem is if a vacancy occurs now, you have two policies that require different procedures depending on when it happens.
So one of them is outside of 90 days, one of them is inside of 90 days, correct?
Well, the regional agreement says if it happens within 90 days, you don't replace the person. You just take
It's
care of it.
inside of 90 days, but I think that's the policy that's not the school district's policy?
No, actually, the current policy is, you can see because it's stricken through, basically says you notify within 30 days and then the select board and school committee conducts a replacement, regardless of when it happens. So in this BBBE that's separate,
BBBE, yeah.
what I did was I literally just took the language from the regional agreement and put it in the yellow.
So we're gonna notify the select.
This is one, the second one.
Okay.
So it references MGL 41, section 41, subsection 11. Did we, I don't know if we actually looked at that. I did not look at that. I didn't realize that you guys had that conversation. I thought we were going to draft a policy here. Did we actually look at the law?
Did not look at the law, but our regional agreement has gone through legal review at DESI,
Okay.
and they didn't flag this procedure as being defective, so I presume we could leave that in a revised agreement and then just match this policy to it. But as Dr. Tarabasi said, their legal advice is it's much easier to change a policy than the agreement, so match it up to your regional agreement now, and if you change it, then change your policy again.
Okay, and the regional agreement, the policy is if that is inside of 90 days, it's left vacant. If it's outside of 90 days, then the school committee and the boards of selectmen of both towns will entertain candidates to have that position filled. Correct?
Slight modification, it's the selectmen from the town from which the former member
From the
was
town,
elected.
right. From the town where the vacancy occurred. So we're
And
just
if
gonna
it
change
occurs
it.
within 90 days or less, then the next annual election, the position will remain vacant until the next.
Okay. All right. So that is the policy that we're going to adopt, changing what we have currently, and then when we do the regional agreement modifications, we may alter this.
Okay. Yes.
All right. Motion to approve, or actually, we'll just take this one of those out of order.
Yeah, that's fine.
So motion to approve PUBE.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, any discussion? Then, okay.
You already had it.
All right, very good. All right, so BA, I requested a small modification to BA. One of the recommended changes was item number 4, you see the numbers listed down there, establishing practical and simple. That needed to be changed to SMART, but it's not just SMART as a description, it's SMART as an acronym. And I felt, and John gave us the definition of the acronym in his little blurb about it, but I thought it would be good to put the definition of the acronym there so that there wouldn't be any question as to why the word SMART was there. That we're not just saying empirically SMART goals, we're saying strategic and specific, measurable, action-oriented, rigorous, realistic, and results-focused and timed and tracked goals, which is much better said, SMART. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
So, because personally, me, not being a teacher, I didn't know what SMART meant. But
Yeah. No, it's an acronym that's pretty widely used in
Right.
school circles. You'll see as you go on that
Yes.
people love SMART goals. I don't have a problem putting it into the policies. I would say that having done this is my 9th year on the school committee, I will tell you that the idea sounds great. It's so aspirational to have SMART goals, but when you set up school committee goals, your school committee goals are usually set up to be 35,000 feet, and so having a SMART goal sometimes is not easy, because the hardest part is the measurement part of it, where you're setting up a goal that sort of is, as a school committee, we're sort of setting the district landscape. So when you come up with measurable goals, sometimes it's a little bit hard to do that. I have no problems putting it in the policy, but I'll say that in function, it's sometimes hard to do. It's often hard to do.
Yeah, and I think that SMART goals are hard because they have to be measurable. Or they never.
The reason why you do it.
Yeah,
The reason why you do a
they
SMART
never
goal
get
is so
done.
you could, the reason why you do it is so you can set up something that's a meaningful step forward, it's a meaningful step in the right direction, but you can actually display, this is what we did to measure this. But because our goals are usually set much more in a broad policy sense, it's often very hard to set up something that is specific. I mean, it runs contrary to what our purview is. Our purview is the district, right? So when we say specific, we've already sort of, you know, we've already sort of drilled down on something that we're not really there to drill down on, so. But I think, didn't you say that the MASC was the ones that kind of were pushing to have that in there?
Yep.
Yes.
So, yeah, we'll make them happy. You see, when we go to set goals, that it sometimes can be, it's sometimes challenging, and to add the smart piece in makes it even more challenging. Motion to approve BA with the above noted changes.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, yay, we got it, all right. BB. So BB is just a note, right? Because that's for municipal districts?
Well, correct. So I don't even know if we have to do anything with that at this point, but just going through everything that was on the list.
Okay, so this is not a change to anything, that's just what we have?
Correct.
Okay, so, does anyone feel like we need to change BB? Okay. All right, BBAA. That's crazy. All right, John's note, the only suggested change is the addition of a new note that was attached.
Did you want to vote on BB, did we already do BBAA?
So there's no change to BB, so we don't need to do anything with it. We voted to approve BA, we just discussed BB, that there wasn't any
So
changes.
we didn't do any changes, okay.
We didn't change it,
Yeah.
so we don't have to do anything with it.
Yeah.
All right, and then BBAA, so that note at the end is the only thing that's been changed? Okay, the category is often used for a statement of the duties and responsibilities of the school committee member. I mean, this is just talking about or stuff like that. I have no problems with the note that's added to the end of it. Right, this is the policy that talks about individual members have no authority and all that kind of stuff, right?
So should we, this one should be flagged back, so if we're looking to add references to the regional agreement, was that something that we think we want to do? I mean, it probably would be reasonable to do so, because it'll tie the regional agreement and the policy manual together in another spot.
Can you say more about how you want to do that?
So we have, in the regional agreement, we have.
I think you're skipping to the BBBA. Right now, we're talking about BBAA.
Oh, wait a minute. BBAA, that was the one that you said we didn't have any changes.
No, that's BB.
That's BB.
That's this
See,
one.
I made the
You're on-
point that all
you're on
these
the right
letters
one, though.
are just gonna drive us
I thought you
crazy.
were on the right one, BB. You were on the
BA,
right. BA is the one that, no, wait.
there was a note on BB, but I don't have a policy BB.
So it's on the back of the page that has BA.
Oh,
Right,
right here,
there's
yes.
a, right, there's a note,
No, you're looking at the
Nope.
wrong one. Go to the next page.
BBAA,
It's this note. That's all we're talking about.
No, that's BBAA.
that's BBAA.
BBA, he's
So-
talking
So
about,
BB, so
but this
BB,
is BB that
Yeah.
is,
There's no change to BB.
this is exactly the same as what we
That's
have.
what we have in policy. And it does contain language from a regional agreement, which is what we currently have in place, and we really can't. I don't know if I don't think there'll be any change to the language in this from our changes to our regional agreement, but.
It's possible.
yeah, I don't know, because I don't have the original policy. Do we have a copy of the policy BB?
So there is something in here on BB that
That's
is
what I
all
showed.
showed.
Yeah, it's just the note though, it doesn't show the policy. Tell you what, why don't we just
Here's
table it?
BB.
But there's no change, there's nothing to
This
do
is-
for BB.
Well, that's okay, but I don't have a I don't have the
Unless-
policy in front of me.
Unless you want to change BB for some reason.
Let me see.
The school committee is the governing board of the HWRSD. The school committee has, unlike other town boards, autonomous and absolute authority within limitations established by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to carry out the educational policies of the state and guide the educational process. And it references Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 41, subsection 1, and Chapter 71 specifically, but powers and duties of school committees are established throughout the general laws of Massachusetts. So, all right, so basically it's just, all it's doing is just stating that school committee legal status is established by law through the Commonwealth. Okay.
And there's no recommended change to it. I'm not even sure why it's on the thing.
I think we've been,
Because it was in the memo. I've gone through everything that's in the memo.
Okay.
But you're right, that's
Why did they even put it on the map? All right, so we're okay with no action necessary on BB.
yep.
So, all right.
Then the
BBAA.
BBAA one
So
is
now
that
we're
note.
BBAA, the title of the policy, which I'm gonna start reading, so that, because it's gonna give us a headache very fast. School committee member authority, okay? There's John's notes on it. The only suggested change is the addition of a new note, which you can see in yellow at the end of the draft of the policy. Note, this category is often used for a statement of the duties and responsibilities of school committee members, as well as a statement on their authority, just as was done in the above policy.
I have a question, it's probably a dumb question, but where are these notes coming from? Like, John, are you writing them? Is it
No.
coming from the state? Is it coming from lawyers?
Comes from MASC.
Okay.
So they're just writing it as a clarification?
Correct.
Yes,
Okay.
so, oh yeah.
Well, it seems kind of funny that they're telling you what the policy says, the title is pretty much self-explanatory, but, okay.
Yes, I share your sentiment. Modifying a policy just because they wanted to add a note seems a little weird to me, but
By this time it got
I'm
weird
still
for me.
of the, huh?
By this time it got weird for me.
So,
All right,
I don't mind
have no
note-
objection to it
No.
personally.
So accept the change, accept BBAA with the modifications of it.
Second.
All right, any further discussion on BBAA? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, check. Okay, all right. BBBA and BBBB. Which it's the whole policy there. School committee member qualifications / oath of office. Okay, there are some minor language changes. This note explains that regional committees may insert content from the regional agreement, as with BBBA. So John did not recommend us doing anything other than so.
Well, I actually recommended waiting for the regional agreement because there are two things that could change from the stuff we got from the state. One is that if we're gonna continue the practice of members being elected in the spring but not taking their seats until July, then the ballots have to change, they told us. Or we could make membership immediate after the election. So that's a decision the school committee needs to make. And then we may want to add some qualifying language around it needing to be from so many from Wilbraham, so many from Hamden. That also is one of the things that we have to review in the agreement. So this is one of the ones where I was saying maybe we should get the agreement done before we change this.
Okay. And they're not really hardly recommending any changes whatsoever,
Correct.
so.
So what happens in the regional agreement may reflect what goes on in the policy.
Right.
Right.
When we get that, then we can come back to this policy if we need to change anything.
I think it's so ironic though, and I think it's so,
But we're literally shelving it to next year, right? That's what we're talking about.
yeah, you're
right?
taking this off.
Next December.
Yeah, no, table it, just
Yeah.
take it off the docket. I just find it ironic because it works, it doesn't work well. when you have, when you have an election in May and you have that immediate turnover, I see why there is that lame duck period, for the same reason why there's a lame duck period in many other processes that happen around the state, and that's because there are things that need to be finished up. And, the biggest one is, we have an election year, there's an election cycle in this district where you replace 3 members of the school committee possibly in a year, which means that if you have 3 members of the school committee that are replaced and the superintendent is up for review, then you potentially have 3 people that have no idea what you've done for 2 years, basically. That's what they're, and that's bad. That's not what we want. We want to be able to have the school committee members be able to fulfill their obligation and fulfill what it is that they said that they were going to do. And one of those, and that is one of the 3 enumerated responsibilities of a school committee member, is to evaluate the superintendent.
Mm-hmm.
We're fulfilling one right now, and the other one was happening in the last meeting to do the budget. So,
Of course, alternatively, the timeline for when those evaluations are done could be adjusted so that the business is completed.
yeah, but that means you would have to have, you would literally be missing 2 out of 9 months of artifacts, so you would literally be missing, it would be like,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
it'd be like doing the operation before you took, it would be like closing the operation before you took the appendix out.
I don't know about that. So what is the modification that's gonna have to happen to the ballot?
Just to notice the voters that the person they're voting for will not become active immediately. It won't take effect until July 1st.
Okay, all right.
Much like the president and other seats don't immediately take over the next day. There's a transition period.
So, do we have to enact the change to the ballot for this coming May?
We have to, I don't know. We probably should have a conversation.
Because what goes on the ballot is not really determined by our policy.
Right.
So I don't want to see our town get in trouble. Either town, involves 2 towns and their ballots, right? So, how do we figure out if we need to do so, have the ballots? Well, it sounds like we need to have the ballots modified. How do we make sure that happens before the election in May? Or is it already too late?
If the committee wants, I could reach out to the clerk and let her know about this issue that's, for both of them, and let them know about this issue that's been raised and see how they want to handle it.
Okay.
I would say that where to start with this would be to take this to the committee and have this, I would talk to Michelle and have this added for a separate discussion among the committee members, because I don't think that it's appropriate for us 3 to necessarily make that decision. There are 4 other members of the committee to weigh in on how they feel about the lame duck period, right? So that's.
How about this, in the interest of efficiency, let's have Michelle put it on the next, as a discussion item for the next school committee meeting. Mary, maybe you could ask Carol Tardif if she knows what would be involved in getting it added to the ballot, so that we'll have that information to be included as part of our discussion when we discuss it as a committee.
I can do that.
Because the committee we will undoubtedly, as a committee in relation to this, be discussing and potentially voting as to whether we want to change the way that we do it.
Well, we'll still
Right, have
take,
people take office right away.
Sure.
And I would imagine it probably won't change, right?
I think,
But,
you'll need 3 readings to change the policy. If we do any modifications to the policy. So if the discussion is that we're not going to change, let's say that 4 people tomorrow, at the meeting on Thursday, say, no, we want it to go back. Then what's gonna happen is we're gonna have to change the policy, and it's gonna take us 3 meetings to do that.
and that's okay, that'll happen before May. Where is the policy, what letter is the policy that says when people are taking office?
It's actually the regional agreement.
It's in the regional agreement that it doesn't take effect until
Correct.
July. So, all right, so this would have to be, so it's not even a vote of the school committee, it would be a discussion as to if we wanted to have this added as the things that are going into the modification of the regional agreement. So it's a timely time for the discussion.
Mhm.
So, but you're very right, the whole committee should all right, yeah.
Just let them weigh in, it's only December, I mean, if there's modifications that need to be done, it's just a matter of adding a few words to the ballot. But I would rather than jump in that and put more work on John, I would just say, let's have the discussion, let's make sure that the whole school committee is in agreement with the way things are now and the way it's written in the regional agreement, and then, once we have that direction, then we can contact the clerks in each office in each town and say, you know, listen, we've been notified that this is a potential issue. However, the school committee has indicated that they do not wish to change the regional agreement, and that the way that things are written in the regional agreement is the way that they want it. So, in order to comply with Massachusetts general law, we will need to provide some sort of notification to the voter when they vote that the change of office doesn't take first until July 1st.
I was just hoping that John would have gotten a little bit of information, because I don't know the procedure for changing what's on the ballot. We may have to petition the selectmen. I don't know what the town's policies are in regards to how that's working on the ballot.
My thinking is we start with the town clerks, because the clerks have the duty of making sure the election goes exactly the way the state needs it to go. So I would say get some
Not a
information.
request to change anything.
Right,
An
just
inquiry as
information.
to what would be the process if it needed to be changed. And then we'll have that information at the school committee meeting so that we can, if we want to go down that pathway. Because not the three of us don't have the authority to say we want to do that. Right. So, all right, so, but the bottom line is, nothing's happening with Baba here. And BB, right? So that's, this particular one is getting shelved basically to next year. All right, so now we are going to, if everyone's okay with moving on to the next one, which I'm showing as being BBBC. All right, and I'm going to read the title of BBBC. If I have it. That's BBBC. Where's BBBC? I'm not showing
School
it.
committee
in
member
the-
resignation.
Huh? Back of the BBBA?
Yeah, it's a short one.
Hold on. There we go, okay, school committee member resignation. Okay. So we're just deleting established by law,
Right.
and then legal references are put in, which is
The legal
basically-
reference is already there. The only thing we'd be adding is source MASC updated 2022.
So we will no
Which is-
longer say it's established by law, but give a legal reference which says it is established by
Right,
law.
I think they probably felt it was redundant to have it in there twice. Because you had both established by law and then the MGL.
So, as I read this policy, this is, I know it's short, but it's vague. A current school committee member who submits a resignation to the appropriate certifying authority, terminate. So who's the appropriate certifying authority?
I would think the town would be.
Well, in the past,
Selectmen.
we've had school committee members just submit a resignation letter to the school committee, to the school committee chair.
Yeah, but
So-
doesn't
I'm gonna look up.
the special.
Look up the law, yeah.
Yeah, the special election doesn't take, we're not in that. That's this between the
No,
selectmen.
who do you notify? Well, that's the question that they're asking
I'm
there.
saying,
the
I
certi-
think it's the selectmen.
So. You have it, John?
Getting there. Okay.
Section 109, no resignation of a town or district officer shall be deemed effective unless and until such resignation is filled with the town or district clerk or such later time certain as may be specified in such resignation. So can we add, submitting a resignation to the town clerk? Or
I don't-
any others?
I don't
or-
know that, we've done it before, and I don't think it goes to the town clerk, I think it goes to the selectman, the chair of the select committee.
I'm just reading what the law says and what they put down here. So I would, I mean,
Right.
I don't listen, it's not a matter of what we did in the past, it's a matter of what the law says. And I
Right,
don't wanna-
but
I
the
don't
law
wanna say
said,
policies.
did you say the law said or?
No resignation of a town or district officer shall be deemed effective unless and until such resignation is filed with the town or district clerk. So I would say if we put a current school committee member who submits a resignation letter to the town clerk or any appropriate certifying authority.
And the town clerk is the appropriate certifying authority. They
Well, what happens
certify
if
the
the-
election, and they swear you.
What happens if somewhere down the line, let's say there's a change and let's say the town clerk doesn't do it? I'm just trying to build some bulletproofness into the policy, so.
Then somebody else might be the appropriate certifying authority, which is good that it's worded the way it is.
But if you put, right now, it's the town clerk. I mean, to me, this policy is, it's unnecessarily vague. I mean, in such that, when you say an appropriate certifying authority, like, you're saying selectman, he's saying clerk, I'm saying school district, school committee chair, why are we not, I mean,
So-
I take back
so-
selectmen because I had completely blanked on the fact that we go and we do our pledge, or whatever we do, you know.
Yeah,
and
you
she,
take an oath.
we take a. I know. It
So,
meant a lot.
now, in the interest of professionalism, I think that it would be appropriate for a resignation letter to be simultaneously submitted to the chair of the school committee, the chair of the select board, and to the town clerk. You know, in the interest of transparency and making sure everybody's aware and professionalism and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know if the policy really needs to include that. I guess we could decide that that is in the policy.
No, I think the law is pretty specific. The law says that it's filed with the town clerk.
Well, no, that it can't be effective until it's filed with the town clerk. That doesn't mean it can't be submitted to other people.
Well, that's why it says that they terminate their duties upon notice to that person.
Right.
So you can tell everyone in the world that you've quit, but
But
until
until the town clerk gets
Until
it.
you let Carol know,
Right.
you're still on the hook. Right, so,
How about if we add
The town clerk in parentheses.
I like that. All right, so after appropriate certifying authorities, parentheses, town clerk, terminate school committee duties at the time of such resignation unless a later time is stated in the resignation. That's good.
Make a motion to accept BBVC with the stated change.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, another check mark. We have already done B, 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 E. Woo-hoo, we're flying. All right. B, D, F, A. All right. BDFA, school councils. All right, lots of edits on this one. All right, new language clarifies the school councils are subject to the open meeting law. That is an important update to our policies. The model policy also provisions that, so we didn't have in our policy that the school committees, the school councils are subjected to open meeting law. Have they been following open meeting law?
I believe they have.
Okay. And I've noted for them the subcommittees. In general, I'm leery about adding requirements that are not part of the statute or
Do you want
regulations.
the policy?
No, I have it in front of me. Right. I guess the question that I have for this,
I
And I-
agree with you, John.
it enters into a much, I think, a broader discussion, and I don't, John, you might be able to fill this in. So, when I read the edits to this, And the principal shall by law serve as co-chair of the council. The second co-chair will be elected annually by the council members at its first meeting of the school year subsequent to the election of the new council members. So the principal, except as specifically defined in the law, shall have the responsibility for defining the composition of and forming the group pursuant to a representative process approved by the superintendent and school committee. So I don't think we've ever had that discussion. I don't remember ever having a discussion on the school committee level where we've talked about the composition of school councils.
Well, normally, it wouldn't be something that the school committee revises or addresses on an annual basis. There would be a process set up and people would just keep following it until there's an update, like an update in the policy.
Right. Well, I guess the question is I have no idea, and based on the way this policy is written, there's really no standardization. Like, it doesn't say, like, you have a school council, like, the school council, is it made up of just teachers? Is it made up of the principal, or their parents? Is it at-large community members?
Within the statute, it says that you have 50-50 representation of school staff, actually it says teachers specifically, and parents or community members.
Okay.
The size isn't constrained, so they can be as big as small as you want, as long as you have the 50-50 representation.
So, yeah, I have no problem with the yellow. I agree with you though, John, that blue sentence, that should not be put in. The school council shall meet at least once monthly during the school year. I mean, you know, why would we tie their hands like that? If they don't need to meet, they don't need to meet. You know, they're not required by law to meet monthly, so why would we put that in the policy? And I also agree that the Roberts Rules of Order, I mean, unless somebody here feels very strongly that they should be following the Roberts Rules of Order, it's not required by law. I don't see a reason for that to be in there. Once again, we don't need to make their job any more difficult, especially that this is a committee that's got parents on it. You know, why are we gonna make them all have to learn the rules and everything else? Unless it's necessary.
When we talk about the meetings conforming to the open meeting law, it does naturally bring in the question of how the meeting is run. So I don't think I would say, I didn't say that you're required to use Robert's rules, but I would probably put somewhere there that you're encouraged to use Robert's rules simply because it is an open meeting. And so there has to be, if it's an open meeting, then you have to have an agenda, you have to have minutes. There should be some structure to these meetings. I don't think it should be just a free-for-all.
Well, there is. By open meeting law, they will have an agenda and it'll be made public and it'll be available.
Correct, but when you get into the issues such as debate, right? And where do you end debate? How is an idea brought to the table? Is it something that anybody just brings up an idea? So Robert's Rules of Order, I think there's a reason why it's used, and it's used because it gives you a framework by which you can run a meeting. So if you have one person in your school council group that is basically just stuck on one issue, if they want to bring that issue up and nobody else in the group will second their motion, they can't bring it up. That's why Robert's Rules works. Otherwise, you're going to have one person bringing this issue up again and again. So if they don't get any traction behind it. Also limits to the amount of time that people have to speak. Ways in which debate can end, right? So if you have an issue that's going around and around and around, it's not somebody being a bully. It's now all of a sudden somebody makes a motion. Somebody makes a motion to table, or somebody makes a motion to have a vote to call it. Then it forces a hand. So while it seems unnecessarily constraining, I think in a lot of ways, Robert's Rules brings order to something that would otherwise have a lot of inherent disorder. And especially if you have half of the people at the meeting who are parents and may not necessarily be familiar with Robert's Rules, It gives them an idea how important those rules are in terms of running a meeting and running a discussion effectively.
I'd really like to hear your perspective, Cheryl, since you
I'm
do this.
baffled.
How do these
I've
meetings
been
go,
sitting here
Cheryl?
thinking, I'm not gonna say a word.
How do these meetings go? Do we
The
need
meetings-
Robert's rules to keep the parents in line from abusing the teachers?
I think the first thing you have to realize is you have parents that have the time and the energy and the will to work for the school. And that sets up an atmosphere of goodwill. They do important work, particularly around this, if it's run right, around the school improvement plans. And not the individual ones, but the ones that the school themselves make. And we never went as high as the district improvement plan, but it was really a very good discussion. I never experienced in all my years it getting out of control or something. There was one year in which we had a terrible budget season, and they wanted everyone to cut $35,000 out of their one of the pieces of their budget. And I brought it up that I think we should not cut it and raise the money ourselves to give back to the school. We did raise $35,000, which was the amount for the cut, and the superintendent was not pleased with me because he was a little embarrassed, and he said, just keep your $35,000. So the school committee, if it's run right, collegially, with goodwill, I think, and the worst things that happen in school committee meetings is that they get boring, and somebody takes over and talks all the time, and you don't get your ideas out, or you don't set up the structure, kind of like what you're talking about, to make them understand that there's things we need to get done. It's not just let's have coffee and donuts and talk, which is part of it, but anyway, that's mine.
Are any of the school councils in our district right now currently following Robert's rules?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
I think if you make them follow Robert's rules, you're going to have a lot of people not coming to the meeting.
Oh, I'm not saying that you institute strict methodology with Robert's rules. I'm saying that I don't think I would omit the reference entirely, simply because when you talk about, you just said it yourself. You're like, well, you go into school committee meetings and you have one person that dominates and they take over the meeting. But Robert's rules is actually put into place so you can't do that. So any member of the committee who is frustrated can automatically call the question, and that is a non-debatable issue. So right there, discussion ends, and you have to have, as long as you get a second, you go right to a vote. That's why Robert's rules exist. I'm not saying that that's
I'm
going to
just
happen.
saying that people would not come to the next meeting.
School count, but I'm thinking more in terms of just providing background guidance to the principals when they're having it. I mean, like I said, Robert's rules it's not a bad thing. It's so to have it in the back of their mind, what Robert's rules strives to achieve, I think is important. I'm not saying that you have to run the meeting by Robert's rules. I'm saying that I wouldn't omit the reference. I would just say, that is, it's a, it can serve as a guiding principle, right? So there's certain things that,
Well, but I think the way it's worded leaves it, if you ended at principal with a period, votes by majority may be taken at the discretion of the principal. And that opens it up for the principal to utilize whatever organizational structure they feel is most appropriate for the group, to direct them to vote when he feels it's appropriate.
Is there another organizational structure for meetings other than Robert's Rules of Order?
There's lots of structures for meetings, and I think from my point of view,
What are they?
that's what I was going to say. But from my point of view, the meetings, the faculty meetings were very much like the school council meetings. Only the school council meetings were smaller, but you try and get the discussion going. You pair it out and talk with your buddy about what you're thinking. There's a lot of things that can happen and make you feel really involved in the meeting, but you have one person leading it, the principal. And the principal doesn't have to say a lot to lead it. They just need to make sure that other people's voices are heard. It's not like we're gonna have like 5,000 people around the table.
It's true.
We're gonna have like 4 to 7, if we're lucky.
All right, so how many of us want to delete the Robert's Rules thing?
I do. I don't want to, if I were principal, I never want to do Robert's Rules on a school committee, on a school council meeting.
All right, I'm gonna go with you on that, Cheryl, since I've never attended one, and that was my initial instinct as well. What do we think about this last sentence? The superintendent shall receive agendas and stuff. I mean, John brings up a good point. So the point you're bringing up is under open meeting law, the minutes should be available to everyone. So this is gonna be something that's on the website. So this sentence is a bunch of nonsense saying that they have to send the minutes to you, and then you have to distribute the minutes.
Right.
Where in reality, everything goes to Erin, and Erin puts it on the website.
But is there I guess, so an open meeting law held, there's a chain of command within the district, correct? So if the open meeting law is held, I just want to make sure that we're not running afoul of protocol. So
Well,
protocol
if
is
the
that.
minutes are not put up on the website and made public, then that would be a problem.
Right, so I think the issue that I think what they're striving for in this and having the minutes submitted to the superintendent is that the principals are technically your hires. And so the meetings would be submitted from the principals to the superintendent. Superintendent would then be responsible for forwarding those minutes to the school committee. I think that would
It doesn't.
So these are
Yeah,
open.
but only, that just says,
It's upon request.
but I don't, another viewpoint looking at this is like, it's like, okay, the ultra top secret minutes go to the superintendent. They do with them whatever they feel like, redact them, whatever, and then distribute them. You know what I mean? So that's another perspective look at this. Why would they not just go to the website and be public for everybody? Not that John would ever alter them, but it just opens the door to issues, and I don't know, I agree with getting rid of it, but I don't know, what do you think, Cheryl? What would happen with the minutes when you have these council meetings?
You never had minutes.
Usually the principal would just keep them for review. And the minutes were really helpful because a lot of the stuff that came up at school council meetings were put into our school improvement plan and the discussion we have that every year around that. Then you can, draw from your notes and say, well, we were talking about this, and that's why we put this in the plan as one of our action steps.
And that's fine under the current policy because the current policy doesn't make it subject to the open meeting law. However, the law makes it open to the open meeting law. So that's, so our policy isn't really directing principals to how they're supposed to do the meetings.
Okay, so, but the new policy, even with that blue line deleted, will direct them to follow open meeting law, which means that they need to be made public. So, would you, what do you think, Cheryl? Do you think it would be better for the principals for them to submit the minutes to John and, who knows, maybe even discuss them with John in a meeting before they come up on the website, or they should just be put up on the website?
I would, if it were me and I was an active principal, I'd want to go to John, because I wouldn't want him to be surprised by anything that came up in one of my meetings.
So,
All right,
But,
all right,
but
cool.
also, but
all right,
also.
but the other question too is that, so you're not at these school council meetings?
Nope.
So, the other question is that the meeting minutes have to be approved. Correct? We can't just type up minutes. According to the open meeting law, you have to have minutes. Those minutes need to be reviewed by the members of the council or the committee, and then they have to be approved before they can be placed on the website. Before they can be placed anywhere, before they can be released. Sorry, Mike, it's the way the law's written, that darn open meeting law.
It's an interesting point because
But-
we just all agreed that we don't want to force them to meet every month. But So they could have a meeting and then it could be 2 or 3
3 months
months
before you
before they have a
have-
meeting,
before you have-
before they have the opportunity to vote and approve the minutes. And then that would then delay them being made public, and also, so do the minutes have to be approved before John has the opportunity to discuss them with the principal? Because that's not
Well, I
technically.
wasn't
The
saying
principal could provide
discuss.
draft minutes.
Huh?
Principal could provide draft minutes, or whoever's keeping the minutes.
Or they are not, I mean, based on open meeting law, I mean, those minutes are not, any minutes that are not approved by the body that have have the meeting, those minutes are not supposed to be released.
Okay, well then their release will be delayed. So I guess we leave that last blue sentence in then, because I'll go with Charles, but I mean, it's gonna be not until the minutes have been approved. So. Is there anything in the law about a time frame of when the minutes have to be released public?
And I don't know if it's in the law, if it's in the regulations, but they usually say within 3 meetings of the meeting at which it was taken.
Oh, goodness, okay, that could be like a year, okay.
It could be.
So, I mean, hopefully won't be, but, you know, but that doesn't leave them in any danger. Okay, so we're deleting Robert's rules, we're deleting that blue one where they have to meet every month. We're gonna leave in the last blue sentence, so that, you know, and yeah, and it might be a good opportunity, John, for you to sit down with the principals and hear from them what went on at the meeting, and then you won't be surprised by telephone calls or whatever. Sure. That might result from. And then there's another addition to the policy, looks like the school council shall meet regularly with the principal of the school and shall assist in, and that's the description of their duties, MASC. The rest of that looks okay to me, what do you guys think?
Oh, you know what? That sentence already was there. Sorry for that mistake. If
Oh,
you look down below, they just moved it to this different place.
Okay, cool. All right,
Oh, yeah, you're right.
all right, so, anyone interested in making a motion?
I move that we approve this, what is it?
BDFA, school council?
BDFA, school council.
Anyone interested in seconding?
You can second the motion.
I can.
I'm gonna vote against it simply because I wanna just make a statement about the Robert's rules. I think it's important that we have some reference.
I understand. All right, second?
Second motion.
All right, roll call vote.
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Me? Aye. Bill?
No.
No, okay. Passes 2 in favor, 1 against, okay. BDFA, all right, so, we now have come to an important juncture, it's now 7:02. This meeting was posted to run from 6 to 7, so I think out of respect for everybody's time,
Motion
Aye.
to adjourn.
I would like to request a motion to adjourn.
Do you wanna discuss next meeting?
Oh,
quickly?
before we do that, yes, we'll skip ahead to set the next meeting. All right, so we want to stay to a Monday? Okay, let's see. I'll call Monday the 8th. Monday the 15th is a holiday, and Monday the 22nd is already very busy, right?
Yes.
We've now got
technology.
we've got technology, finance, and operations subcommittee. All right, Monday the 29th?
Unless you guys want another day.
Um,
Just seems like, I mean, that's just
A long
blistering-
time.
Yeah, it's a blistering amount of time. And if we can meet somewhere, the January 8th, the week of January 8th,
What about Tuesday, January 9th? Can we meet on a Tuesday?
We can, we just have planning committee at 5:30, so we could do, planning committee meets
it does meet in the IRC, but I guess we could, do how we do 2 meetings back to back or.
What about
tech-
John needs to be there for the planning committee meeting.
What about 11, January 11th?
January 11th, I am not on call. That's a Thursday. Oh, you know what we could do? We could be wild and crazy. Michelle's gonna cancel the school committee meeting that was scheduled for January 4th. Oh, but you,
I'm just gonna say.
You
the
already made
committee-
plans?
The committee giveth and the subcommittee
Take
taketh
it
away.
okay, we can do, all right, let's do it on the, are you good on the 11th, Cheryl?
Is that a Thursday?
It's Thursday the 11th, yes.
Yeah, oh, good.
Thursday the 11th, okay, I'm in the office, so what are we gonna meet, 5 or 6? What do you guys want? 5? All right, 5 o'clock.
Hey, should we adjourn?
Second?
5 o'clock here. on
All those in
Thursday.
favor?
Aye.
Aye, all right.
Perfect. Thank you, I gotta run out of the
Thank
meeting. Have a good night. Thank you, everybody.
You too,
Good
Bill.
night, Bill.
All right, 5 to 6.